Alright, hey guys, Light Fusion coming back at you again with another build video for Guardians of Ember. This time it's a dark damage build. Go ahead and run into the dungeon here. I've got about 15 minutes to get this video knocked out before they shut the servers down for maintenance. So we're going to try to make it pretty quick. So I'm back to a Dark Knight Priest combo. Our attribute distribution, most of our points went into blood for the increase in dark damage, the increase in health and instant healing. The majority of the remainder of our points went into prestige for critical hit chance, and then we kind of divided the rest up into focus for attack speed and bravery for some shield strength. On the details page, as you can see, resistance, I just don't really use a lot of resistance. I focused more on dodge, block, and stun resistance because I felt stun resistance was a much more important attribute to focus on, since all of our healing is done through damage. So if we're stunned, we cannot do any damage. So I have a 37% chance to avoid being stunned. We're also picking up some bonus points down here based on how we distributed our our skill points. So we're picking up some additional hit points, some additional health, some critical hit chance. We're also gaining some increased attack speed and bonus damage. So we got 10% bonus damage coming off of our skill points. We also picked up a little bit of block chance, and then our run speed. I'm picking up 17% increased run speed based on how I distributed my skill points. So I'm going to go over the skills now real quick. Look at the gear. We're using all Puppeteer of the Dead. Most of it is going to be +5 or +6 with full Zai runes, except for the one level 1 rune that is pretty much impossible to get rid of based on the way the melting stones work. So my gear is pretty good. It's not, I mean, some of this could be optimized probably a little bit better, but it works fairly well. Now for the skills, on the passive skill, we're going to still keep using Bloody Order. The healing that is generated through Bloody Order is pretty much irreplaceable at this point in the game. Now if we had dedicated healers and a looking for group feature where we could pair up with healers, we could probably swap that out for either a more tank type passive skill or a damage focused passive skill. But as the game currently is, Bloody Order is just irreplaceable for running harder content, so we're gonna stick with that. And then I have been running Horrific Violence, which is a change up. I usually run Detached Suffering, but with this build I'm actually able to run Horrific Violence for an increase in attack speed, so I can pick up an extra almost 40%. It usually stays pretty close to max stacks, so I usually have an increase of 40% attack speed from that. With this build, you could also, if you wanted to, I have tested it out with Death Grip. That actually works fairly decently as well, and you could still also run the Detached Suffering if you needed to for the increase in survivability. Now on our primary class, if you look at my bonus ability overview here, I picked most of my skill points went into skills where I can either pick up some health points, critical hit chance, attack speed, damage bonus, block chance, or speed. Those are the only 6 bonus abilities that I'm picking up. So the first one, we went down the Toxic Bloom path. We picked critical hit chance on all of these and got up to Death Funeral, which is the first ability down here on my toolbar. And I picked this up because that has a 30% chance to grant an additional 20% attack speed. So I'm getting 20% from that, as well as the 40% stacking from Horrific Violence. So my attack speed jumps up quite a bit. The next ability on our bar is going to be Siphoning Hate. And you have to actually unlock the default skill slots here to allow you to distribute your skills however you want on your toolbar. I'm actually not using a secondary skill at all. So my right mouse button is going to be siphoning hate, which the big point with that one is it decreases the enemy's attack speed, and it also inflicts them with capture. So that's going to pull them all to me. And then the big ones for generating health are going to be Fire Instigator. This basically creates an aura around my character that deals damage every half a second. So that's going to be every half a second I'm going to be generating healing. And then the other one that is an aura is Shadows Emerge, which lasts for 10 seconds. And it basically does the same thing. It generates some healing every half a second. It actually does a little bit of damage, so 30% dark damage, but I'm mainly after the healing on that one. And Fire Instigator and Shadows Emerge are both from my secondary class, so those are from the Priest class. And then our other Dark Knight ability we're going to grab is going to be Night of Woe. So basically this is another healing ability. It does a little bit of damage every half a second, so 30% dark damage every half a second. And the longer the enemy stands in that one, it actually increases in damage up to a maximum of 54%. And then we still have our shield. I've used this. I used it on my toxic build, and I've stuck with it on this one. It's kind of one of those, when you get in a bind, you can hit this and it gives you a second or two to kind of recover. Now our skill points, like I said here, we grabbed critical hit chance all the way down the line. And then on this one we grabbed attack speed. Now if you wanted to, if you were running maybe one of the other passives, say Death's Grip or Detached Suffering, if you really didn't want the increased attack speed from this, you wanted to do some more base damage, you could always grab Antimatter, which does 120% dark damage and decreases the enemy's attack speed. And of course, if you were running in a group and you needed to play as the tank character, you could always grab this one and generate some additional aggro. And then down here on on secondary skills, on the Thorn Shadow, I actually grabbed the increased run speed on this one. Same with Nothingness, I grabbed the increased run speed on that one as well. And then over here on Toxic Hook, we grabbed the health point modifier because I already have enough hit chance. So it's one of those abilities that once you have enough, there's no real point in overstacking on hit chance. Once you have enough to hit the enemies, there's no real point in stacking more. So on that one we grabbed the health point modifier. Come down to Diffused Curse, and we grabbed the just straight damage bonus on that. You could have done the damage bonus to all attributes if you wanted to, but I felt like just a straight damage bonus would be a little bit better, since I'm only using one attribute. Now if I was using multiple attributes, you know, I may have used that one instead, and that gets us our Night of Woe. And then over on the shield, we also grabbed the health point modifier here. And then down on Soul Siphon, we grabbed the health point modifier here on the first three. And then on the second set, I started grabbing critical hit chance. And then we finished it out with some health point modifiers. So that was how our primary skills, our primary stats are distributed for our skills in our primary class. And then on the secondary class, I simply went through here. I knew I needed Fire Instigator for that aura that heals me. So on that one we grabbed the damage bonus on that one as well. And then on Shadows Emerge, we grabbed the, I believe it was Dodge Chance on that one. If you wanted to grab the health point modifier, you could. And then on this one I grabbed Block Chance. And then we got increased attack speed here, and critical hit chance here. So that was the skills, and I'm going to show you guys how it kind of how it plays. Now keep in mind, I do have fairly decent gear, so I do big pulls. If you were just starting out, you wanted to do smaller pulls, that would be perfectly fine. I actually find this build much more enjoyable to play compared to the toxic damage build that I had been running. I feel like it fits the class a little bit better since it is a dark damage build. So that's how the build plays. It's just pull up groups of enemies, use your the two aura abilities on cooldown. You want to make sure you keep those up pretty much all of the time. As you could kind of see there, I just kind of rotated through all of my abilities. They were almost always on cooldown. That way I was taking advantage of all of them. Now this build, if you wanted to, you could go sword and board with this. You could use a one-handed weapon and a shield and be a little bit more tanky. Now that may be an option if you don't have extremely good gear. That's also one option. And I mean, if you do the shield, you could always add you know, human shield for more hit points. When I do that, my hit points actually jump up to I believe it was about 43,000. Yeah, 43,000. So I mean, that's a lot of hit points. I just don't do, when you do that, my attack dropped significantly. So that's the build. Like I said, you can use, I liked this build because I can use different passives. On the toxic build, I felt like I was kind of pigeonholed into using specific passives, couldn't really change it up. But with this one, I can kind of change up what passives I'm using, and for me it's a little bit more enjoyable. You know, if you guys start trying this build out, if you don't have extremely good gear, you may have to, you know, pull one or two groups at a time instead of, you know, a whole wing. But it's worth a shot. Try it out. Let me know what you guys think. And as always, guys, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.